If you're looking for a delicious and easy dish to meal prep this week, then you have to check out this stuffed shells recipe.
Hi, my name is Larisha and I am obsessed with Mexican food. Feel free to leave your confession in the comments below. So much so that I even take popular dishes from other cuisines and make fusion dishes like these vegan enchiladas stuffed shells. Trust me when I say this is a must-make dish, and now I will stop talking so that I can show you how to make it.
Step 1, we are going to bring a large pot of salted water to a boil and cook our jumbo shells until al dente. You want to carefully pour them in so that they don't break into pieces. Give them a stir together so that they don't stick, and then let them cook until done.
If you are one of my gluten-free friends, then you can find gluten-free jumbo shells. However, they can be a bit tough to find. So what I would actually recommend for this dish is to use your favorite gluten-free noodle shape, bake that until al dente, and then make this more of a pasta bake. So combine everything, cover it with the cheese at the end, and then cover it with foil and bake it all together instead of trying to find those jumbo shells. So hopefully that will help.
Once your noodles are done, you want to completely drain them and rinse them immediately with cold water until you see no more steam.
One of the most important tips of this entire recipe is that you need to make sure that you rinse your shells in cold water after they are finished cooking. This helps to stop the cooking process and make sure that your noodles don't get super soft, which when you put them in the oven means that they are going to kind of disintegrate and break down a little bit more than you would like them to, and also be a little bit more gummy than we are looking for in this dish. So make sure we wash them with cold water to stop that process, and they will be perfect every single time.
While our noodles are cooking, we can start our filling. Into a large skillet, add some oil, and then we're going to saute some onions for a few minutes until they are softened. I'm using a sweet onion, but you can use a yellow onion as well. Add in some red enchilada sauce as well as some green diced chilies and our seasoning, which are chili powder, cumin, and garlic powder, and then just give that a stir together. I use mild chilies, which give some heat but not too much, but if you don't want much spice at all, swap for a bell pepper and saute with your onion. In an oven-safe dish, preferably with a lid, add a thin layer of sauce to the bottom and then also reserve a half a cup onto the side. Then to your skillet, you're going to add some liquid smoke.
We always get asked about liquid smoke and is that a necessary ingredient? What liquid smoke is doing is giving us a grilled smoky flavor without having to do like a cold smoke process that takes hours to do. So we are omitting that and doing it very quickly. However, liquid smoke is typically an ingredient that you can just completely omit without having to do anything else to the recipe. If you are looking for a very fast ingredient that you can swap it with, you could do an A1 steak sauce, which is typically vegan, and you could just swap it out with that.
Also adding some frozen meatless crumbles and some vegan cheese. I started mixing before adding the cheese, but yeah, you can add both first and then mix. Then we are going to be doing a mix of vegan cheddar and mozzarella into this dish, but feel free to add your own favorite blends and get creative here. Once done, turn off your heat and set this to the side.
We are not cooking the crumbles all the way through. That is because they are going to finish cooking inside of the oven, and we don't want to overcook them because they can be tough when you're using a vegan processed meat. If you do not want to use the crumbles that we are using inside of this recipe, you can swap that out for something like crumbled tofu, TVP, which is textured vegetable protein, which is another very minimally processed soy product. You could also do pea protein crumbles, cauliflower that you chop up very finely, mushrooms. The possibilities are pretty endless. You just want some type of meat substitute inside of this dish.
Once your noodles and mixture are done, you're going to add about 1 to 2 tablespoons to each of your stuffed shells. Place it inside of your dish and then repeat until all of your mixture has been used. Then use that reserved enchilada sauce and pour over the top of your stuffed shells evenly. Finally, we are going to add our remaining vegan cheese on top of that evenly as well.
No matter how long you have been vegan, plant-based, dairy-free, whatever it is that you are using vegan cheese for, you know that vegan cheese can be pretty difficult to melt. So I have a couple of tips and hopefully one of those will help you. Tip number 1 is to, as soon as you start getting all of your ingredients out and start cooking, set your vegan cheese out and off to the side. Room temperature vegan cheese tends to melt much better, and so it is always the number 1 tip that I recommend. Number 2, when you put your cheese on top of your dish, you can spray it with a little bit of oil. That will also help to make it melt. You're not necessarily worried about the cheese that is inside of the jumbo shells in this dish because that will melt perfectly fine since it's all packed in there. It's the cheese that is on top that you need to do that with. So don't worry about the cheese that you're putting inside the dish, just the cheese that you're putting on top. Spray a little bit of oil or sprinkle a little bit of water and it should help the process. Tip number 3, the last tip, is just don't worry about it. I mean, honestly, it doesn't really matter that it isn't super melty. It is still just vegan cheese and it's delicious. So give one of those a try, and if not, just don't worry about it. However, for what it's worth, we have found that the Follow Your Heart finely shredded cheese melts the best out of any cheese that we have found on the market. I will say that it has to say finely shredded right on the package, and of course it's not what we're using today, but if you can find it, then it does give the best melt that we have found so far in our 4.5 year vegan journey.
When your dish looks something like this, it is time to put a lid or foil on top of it and then let it go into the oven to bake. Once finished, you will have something that looks like this beauty that is absolutely amazing and delicious every single time.
These vegan enchilada stuffed shells are a must try. Full recipe at makeitdairyfree.com. Enjoy. It's really hot.